The first issue of Rorschach came out, a quasi-sequel to the seminal comic book in the recent Emmy Award-winning show. So, how did it turn out? This is Exasperated Nerd Explains. I'm going to start with the comic itself and then get into all the entangling issues. I think this is a good setup for a mystery, kind of like a mix between The Manchurian Candidate and a 70s thriller. Even though it's supposed to be present day, it is definitely stylized as if it was something older. The actual plot is a bit thin when you get down to the basics. An old man dressed as Rorschach and a woman apparently try to assassinate the presidential candidate running against President Redford. They are stopped and they are both dead at the start of the comic. Someone is brought in to investigate the assassination attempt and find out who they were and what exactly happened. He questions a few people and, spoilers, the twist at the end of this issue reveals that this old man who was dressed as Rorschach had fingerprints that matched Walter Kovacs, the original Rorschach. Now, do I think this will turn out to be the case in the end and this was actually Rorschach? No. It's controversial enough that they are making another sequel to Watchmen. Retconning one of the big moments from the original's ending is unthinkable, large squid monster aside. I am sure it will tie to some other information and lead to a deeper conspiracy or mystery as the series goes on. I believe that twist is meant to be the hook to bring you back into more issues, but I was more annoyed by it than anything because of the implications I just mentioned. I thought it was actually the weakest part of the issue. Up until then, it's just a nice little mystery story. The art is good, the colors go well with the story and art style. They avoid the typical Watchmen panel grid, I assume on purpose, to either distance themselves from the original or they will bring it into a subsequent issue at an important moment. So overall, the issue is a decent start to what should be a nice little series. It's just a shame it's surrounded, covered, and drowning in controversy. I think it would be a better series if it wasn't connected to the Watchmen property at all, though it may not be anywhere near as successful if they did that due to the name recognition of the character. The main reason it would sit better as a separate storyline to me is due to the rights issues surrounding the property. It's no secret that DC did Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons dirty. The rights to the property were supposed to revert back to the creators once it went out of print and the characters were not used for a year, which you would have expected to happen. But with Watchmen being so successful and regularly topping lists of best superhero comic books of all time, DC has never allowed that to happen. One could argue that their desire to keep this potential moneymaker in their quiver helped push this along to fame and stardom by keeping it in print forever and always in circulation, but either way, I think it would have continued to have been remembered as an important work. DC's continued ownership of the rights has led them to expand this universe with comic prequels, a DC Universe tie-in, and now a comic sequel. It has also allowed them to produce the live-action properties associated with Watchmen. I get that creators may have a good story they want to tell in this universe, but it still feels wrong for them to blatantly disregard the original creators. And I say this being a fan of shared universes, but these rights were not laid out initially in the same way as if you were adding to the Superman mythos. These rights should have gone back to the creators, and DC just exploited a loophole in the contract. And that's not to mention Tom King, the writer, and his additional controversy he created over a variant cover. He jumped on DC and Jay Lee, a recognizable artist, for doing a variant cover to this miniseries when he had also dared to do a cover for someone tied to the Comicsgate group, which Tom King just labels as a hate group. Tom King then talked to Jay Lee and said that he realized Lee did not stand for hate and, quote-unquote, "we are all good." So, poor Jay Lee, on the way to memorialize his deceased family pet, has his life thrown into chaos. Not being political at all, suddenly being dragged through the mud, facing potential lost jobs and income, all because of a random tweet on a job where DC Comics approached him. Then Tom King talks to him and retracts the previous statements and says it's all good, because Jay Lee did not have any political implications with his other work or any hate in him. It was just, work to him. Understandably, Mr. Lee took umbrage with it being quote-unquote all good and called Tom King out for trying to ruin his career and livelihood without ever having spoken to him about it, pointing out that careless tweets have real-world consequences. So, you have a comic that probably shouldn't exist if things were just and the original creators had the rights back, a story that probably would just be a good read on its own, and an author blindly stepping into an additional landmine, just shoveling on controversy to this title. But yeah, I guess it's, an okay read. Just one that leaves a little bit of a bitter taste in your mouth for reasons completely outside of the comic. Anyways, thanks for watching. What do you think of the rights issues and there being another sequel being made to Watchmen? Please let me know in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.